Hey guys, Steve Moran here. I am with Sean at Sage Age, and it's really weird to see just one camera, and you're wondering what those weird doors are in the back. We are actually sitting out on a patio at the JW Marriott in Las Vegas. We are here for the amazing, wonderful, sold out
Smash conference.
That's right. But we wanted to spend a little time talking about digital marketing, since that's so much of what this is about, this conference is about. It's more than that, but
Right.
much of it is digital. And so as Sean and I were talking about what to talk about, we decided that we talk about the things that people are doing wrong with digital marketing. And where are we going to start?
You want to start with landing pages? Then we can work.
Yeah, let's start with the landing pages. So I was telling Sean that this is a topic I'm very, very interested in. I saw some research by somebody who outside of senior living, who said that people spend a lot of time trying to get the most beautiful landing pages they can, thinking that it actually makes a difference in terms of the response rate. And that their research shows that it actually isn't the quality of the landing page and how it looks. It actually is the quality of the offer. And so, and they apparently have some research on it. I haven't actually seen it. So I guess I'm going to start by saying, what do you think of that premise?
I think it's a combination of both. I believe that both, it has to be somewhat pretty. It has to be presentable. It has to showcase the community in a certain way. But at the same time, you don't necessarily always need a lot of information on that page to kind of give that value exchange and ask them for that call to action. It could be a short thing, or you could have very robust landing pages. I really believe that it just comes down to what are you trying to sell, meaning what care type, and then what is the call to action that you're trying to drive them to, whether it's a traditional come in for a tour or you're going to be doing some type of a value exchange to get a brochure.
So I guess the question I have that I find really fascinating is, from a senior living perspective, what creates a high value offer that people are going to exchange their information for? Do you have thoughts about what maybe in going at it two ways, things that are so unappealing that nobody's going to do it, and things that are so appealing that people are really going to jump on it?
So the ones that we find that are the most appealing is the educational leave behinds. So those things that somebody's going to sign up or try to download a brochure, whether it's a brochure about memory care or CCRC, just educating themselves. Those are the ones that I feel get a lot of the interest, a lot of the information that's being basically given as a value exchange. The ones that we don't normally see a lot of turnaround for is on those landing pages is if we just ask somebody to say, fill out this information to come in for a tour.
Yeah.
Those don't usually go somewhere, but probably 10 to 20% of those that fill out a form do fill that out, but the majority are going to lean towards that value exchange. And so this is why on a lot of the landing pages that Sage Age builds, we actually have multiple different CTAs and multiple different items for somebody to choose from. So you have the traditional form where somebody can say, I want a tour and I'm interested in independent living, or maybe there's a sub form that allows them to basically download a brochure on memory care or another care type.
So what about offering a free meal?
Those we have done, but they're usually tied to some type of event. So not coming in specifically just as a one-off free meal or maybe a one-off stay. Those we try to do something a little bit bigger, and we invite certain people via email to those type of things. But it's usually that landing page is used as a first touch point off of, say, pay-per-click or some type of programmatic advertising, and just to basically get that initial information as a first name, last name, email, and phone.
So one of the things I've always wondered about with free meals is if there are people who just sort of, I don't know, make it their life to go collect free meals for two reasons, right? It saves a little bit of food money, gets you a nice meal, and the third thing is that it relieves boredom. Does that happen?
It does happen. I was at a community recently where that topic came up, where they have their repeat person that's been on their list for 5 to 6 years, and they consistently just come in for the free meal or the free talk, but they have no interest yet to move in. They're not ready yet, and they stay on the email list. They still get the invites, because you still have to nurture them. Sooner or later, they'll probably make that decision, but we see it a lot, yes.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem because you look at it and you think, man, this is a waste. On the other hand, you look at it and say, man, the minute I stop, they'll go move in somebody else's community, right?
Yes.
So
you got to keep that conversation going and just know that they're going to consistently show up.
Yeah. Okay. So what other things do people mess up with their digital marketing?
So from a digital marketing standpoint, I would also say follow-ups for RSVP events. So say you have an event, make sure that you're doing the proper follow-up, or the sales team is sending out an email, or your agency that you're working with is sending out an email thank you, to keep that conversation going. I think that is a very important thing just to do from the lead nurturing standpoint, and it needs to happen. So that'll be another item that I don't see happening quite often. And today you can take advantage of that type of stuff, even doing text messaging. So a simple SMS text to say, thank you for coming in. Can we do anything as a follow-up with you, and things like that as well.
Yeah, one of the things I've never really done, and I see happening, I've seen with a couple of vendors that I've been talking to, is I'll schedule a Zoom meeting with people, and then almost obnoxiously, I get a text message a day, 24 hours before, and then I'll get one like the morning of, and then I'll get another one about half an hour.
Yes.
And in some sense, it's a little obnoxious, but I suspect it works. I mean, it's not so obnoxious that I, unsubscribe from it.
Well, it's kind of like your doctor sending you a note saying, hey, it's time for your appointment. As a reminder, come in next week. And I think there's a number of touch points that can be too many. Probably 1 to 2 reminders before the event, either as an email or a text, would work out. But I don't know, I'm not sure if I would send more than that as a reminder.
I would think that would be true too. So what else are people missing the boat on?
I think when it comes to, say, paid advertising, another one that comes up in topic is how you do targeting for paid advertising. Back in the day, saying for, say, Google, doing paid ads on Google, people used to do very, very large radiuses. But today you can easily take advantage of using a direct mail list and creating those smaller radiuses where those individuals actually live. So I think that's another opportunity for a lot of senior living communities, is to repurpose their qualified direct mail list and use it for other tactics as well. I don't see that happen that often outside of what Sage H does.
What about, I'm going to sort of, so maybe you should, I want to do a little more detail on that, and just so I don't forget. The other thing I want to really talk about is sort of ongoing drip campaigns to prospect. Yeah, I'd really like to explore that a little bit more.
So with Sage recommends multiple marketing automation campaigns. You have the initial onboarding campaign. So I'll use you as an example. You fill out a form for a senior living community. We're going to send you an instantaneous thank you for whatever you just signed up, whether it's off that landing page, et cetera, et cetera. But we want to lead nurture you. We want to basically send you upwards of 4 to 5 additional emails to just keep you in the loop of what's going on with the community. They're relevant topics. So say you're interested in independent living, we're going to send you additional information off of that topic. And then try to basically recommend to have you come and talk to the sales team and make those tours. But within that campaign itself, we have some options for you to opt out as well. So say you don't fill out the second, or basically open up that second email, we're going to send you a follow-up email about something saying, are you still interested? So we know what to do with you. And if you're still interested, then you're going to get that next follow-up as well. But lead nurturing through emails is a fantastic tool for basically the initial onboarding. And then at the same time, if you haven't come in for a tour in quite a while, so you're in the database, you can send a shorter lead nurturing just to say, are you still interested? And try to re-nurture some of those older leads that you haven't talked to in a while.
So that initial lead nurturing sequence that you do, sort of what cadence, how many weeks?
Usually it is over a 4 to 5 day period of time. You're going to see an email. So you're going to receive the first email probably within 4 to 5, maybe upwards, depending on the type of campaign we're doing, up to 7, and then send you that next one. We don't want to quickly send you a bunch of stuff and then you're tired of us and opt out. But probably the normal cadence is basically between the 4 to 7, depending on that topic. And I'm probably going to send you upwards of maybe 4 to 5 emails over a month or a 30-day period of time.
Okay. And then what happens after that 30 days? Do you keep emailing in like a monthly basis or a quarterly basis?
Right. So depending on what happens to you in CRM. So say you come in for a tour, but maybe you have not moved in yet. you're going to be tied into other campaigns that we're doing for that community, whether
Gotcha.
it's inviting you to additional events, it's inviting you to maybe a one-off, come in for a dinner, maybe come in for a stay as well to experience, or even try to match you up to a current residence to maybe have a one-to-one as well. So it depends on where you are in the sales cycle that you're going to end up receiving additional emails.
Okay. So one other question that I have, is I want to talk about websites for just a minute. One of my frustrations about senior living websites is it feels like they don't do a very good job of actually talking about how someone figures out, A, whether they need senior living at all, and B, what type of senior living they need. And I guess maybe my question is, maybe the first question is, do I have that right?
The website, not at least for the communities that we work with, they do a good job of educating on what each of those type of cares are, and including if you're going into contracts, what those contracts mean.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think there is an element that you have to be matched up with a sales team at a community sooner or later to understand some more of the financial side of it, especially on a life plan CCRC and what you can afford. Again, there's certain information that I think the sales team is more qualified to educate the prospect on versus the website, but the website should get you enough of the information to give you a basics of what the understandings are.
Well, and that was really sort of my second question. I mean, I think it's possible to present so much information that nobody responds, and that's there's probably as much art as science in there. So
I mean, the website should ultimately first showcase what it's going to be like to live at the community for you as the prospect. That's one. So we do that via imagery, photography, videos, things like that. It needs to showcase the care. So what are you going to receive and things like that. It needs to showcase the services and amenities. So if it's independent living, what's the dining experience like? What's included with all that? And those are some of the high level important things we definitely want to make sure are included on those senior living community websites.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about other things. Maybe what about reviews?
Oh, reviews are huge. Reviews are not only huge both for the website, so including good video testimonials on the website, but having reviews on Google, Bing, Yahoo, Caring a Place for Mom, Yelp, all of those places really need to be showcased, because one bad negative review can take your 5, and then all of a sudden it's just going to knock you down to a lower number, and then people are going to start questioning your care and things like that. So always asking for reviews and getting reviews on the websites or even all those platforms is key. And you want to be responding to reviews as well. So if you're the community, you want to thank individuals for giving a review. So say you give a review for a senior living community out in California, basically the community should follow up with saying, hey, thank you for that review. Or even if you gave a negative review, you should be responding to that negative review as well to help turn around that appearance of that negativity. But they're very, very important. They help out with basically search engines. They help out with social media. So reviews are very important to showcase that lifestyle as well, and basically what it's like for those individuals coming to the community.
How often do you? So I assume that's part of what you guys do is watch reviews.
We watch
reviews, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we watch reviews. We use a couple different tools to help us watch reviews and then give that feedback back to the community. And then we, as a senior living agency, we end up basically supplying our comments back to the community, saying, "Hey, you had a negative review, for instance. Here's how we respond. They approve it. We then post it for them." But from a review cadence standpoint, always ask for reviews. It's not the idea. The moment that you stop asking for reviews, all of a sudden your review count starts going down. So it's easier just to stay on top of reviews, to consistently be asking for them. And today you can easily ask for reviews by using a QR code. So you can easily send at the community itself, have a QR code where somebody comes in for a tour. They can take a snapshot of that, be taken directly to, say, Google to do a review or Facebook to do a review and get those instant take of reviews.
So it's kind of tough, right? Because you've got, 5 or 6 platforms, so you need 5 or 6 QR codes, and you just sort of rotate through.
And you rotate through, or you just have one very, very large form. The downside is, like Google, Facebook, even Yelp, you have to have an account to leave a review. So that's the other trick with all this, is you have to have the instructions there to say, create an account on those
Right.
platforms and then do the review. So there is a barrier to it, but that's the reason why you have to consistently start asking and continue to ask for reviews.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I was at another conference last week, and I stayed at a very high-end hotel, and it wasn't a great experience. The first night, the first morning when I got up, I took a shower, and by the time I was done taking the shower, the water was practically cold.
Oh wow!
And then so I complained about it, and the next day when I got up, they fixed it, except they fixed it so I couldn't get any cold water at all, so I could just barely take a shower without getting burned. And then in the middle of the night, I was right outside my window in the patio. I was on the first floor. They were cleaning, and I woke me up, and I left a nasty review, and they actually called me up. So what do you think about calling somebody who, if you can figure out who it is, to call them up if they leave a negative review?
I mean, I don't. So from my standpoint in senior living, we have never told somebody to call so-and-so, because I think, as you're right, it's hard to like match up who that person is. But I think it might be worthwhile, depending on the circumstances, if we could. So I'll do it this way. When a negative review happens, we write a response to that saying, please reach out to us so we can have that conversation. Because again, at the end of the day, it's at times difficult to know who the reviewer are, because it's at times a first initial last name, or it's maybe another loved one that you might not have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So I'm open to making the call, but at the same time, I think it's going to be difficult to find out who those people are. But in your case, it sounds like they knew.
Yeah, they knew who I was, and they actually, it's kind of to their credit, they refunded a couple $100 back to my credit card, and I haven't gone in yet, but I am going to go in and make at least. I won't make it go all the way away, because that would be unfair to other consumers. So, what else should we be talking about that people are not, leaving opportunity
on the table? I think a couple different things that we're also focusing on at Sage Age is in educating ourselves on is around everything dealing with SEO. I mean, Sage Age has a good search engine optimization process that we follow, but again, search engine optimization is always changing with the advent of AI, and now how Google is going to possibly move to a different type of approach on results. You got to stay on top of all those things and educate yourself on what that means moving forward for the website and the content and your blogging and things like that as well, just to make sure that everything is staying relevant. So again, it's just that educational component on digital is, I think, if with everything in the technology changing so frequently and so quickly, you just have to stay on top of it, or have a good partner that is staying on top of it for you. So
let's talk a little bit about AI.
Okay.
What do you think? Where does AI play the role in senior living?
So AI is going to, on, I guess, as the consumer side, is going to play into helping you understand what is senior living. The result pages of, say, Google, if you've played around with some of their newer result pages that they have out there in test land, are basically showcasing what different senior living topics are like, at least from a broader sense, and giving you a little bit more information on who that community is. From a Sage standpoint, where AI is helping, I guess, from a content writing standpoint, is research. It's basically helping to research some additional topics and make it quicker to research some of those topics as well, to write new content and things like that. But I think the bigger piece of it is going to be on the consumer side, and what that end look and feel is going to be like, and what those end search engine is going to, that result page is going to look like once Google and the rest of those basically content search engine results pages are going to look like in the future.
So one of the things, as you were talking, I was thinking that I've never tried before. We probably mess up our broadcast, so I won't do it here. But I was thinking about it, is that we could go to. It would be really interesting to go to like Bard in particular, because it uses real time. It accesses real time data, and just say, what's the best senior living community in Las Vegas, and see if it would actually give us a list of the 10 top ones, right? That would be pretty interesting.
It'll probably give you a list of the 10 top ones, and you can even probably follow up with it saying which one of these have a certain care level as a sub question. And then from there, you can even do another follow-up of which one of these would end up having the best dining, for instance. Yeah. And that makeup that it'll consistently just change the results based off what you're seeing.
Wouldn't we maybe next month when we do this, we should play with it a little bit in advance, so we don't make sure we run out of stuff to talk to in 5 minutes. But wouldn't it be fun to just see what we could do with that? And I'm thinking if I were an owner operator of a building, that I had to be trying it in my marketplace, because what if I didn't show up,
Right.
or it said, because the other thing you'd want to ask are, what are the worst ones, right?
Right. I mean, it's still pulling relevant Google information or Bing or whomever you're using
Right.
at that time. So, I mean, if your search engine optimization is strong, you're going to still show up in that result, whether it's
Right.
Bard and things like that. And that's what's important. But yes, Google yourself. Because it's going to be a fun experience as basically this progresses, just to understand what are the results I'm going to get for my own community and things like that.
Well, the other area that seems like to me, and I know, so first thing I want to say is that when you look at the 3-pack that shows up on a Google search for senior living, right? I mean, that's really AI.
Right.
Yeah. That's we don't think of it as AI, but that's really AI driven. But the other place where I'm intrigued by, and I don't think anybody's really there yet, but I think a more AI driven chatbot experience where it almost feels like I'm talking to a real human. I mean, I know chatbots are really important in senior living, but they always sort of end up right when you put in almost any question, they say, give me your name, number, and
I think
email,
right. They normally do that when you ask an important question, meaning like what's the cost? I mean, just like with everything, a senior living community doesn't want to give that away without they having your information. But I think AI chatbots are actually getting better. The ones I've played around with, even some of them here at Smash, do very, very well. In every single month, I see the user experience getting better and better and better for those. So it's great to see that type of technology is advancing, and I think it's going to help out a lot with those senior living communities websites.
Yeah, and I think even today on a lot of the chatbots in senior living, one of the things where AI is playing a really critical role is in the area of being able to learn more about prospects who fill out the form, because, and maybe this is something that's worthwhile to actually talk a little bit about. One of the challenges I hear from digital leads is that you get so many leads that trying to figure out what to work on, what not to work on.
Who's qualified, basically. And that's the biggest thing is, I mean, going back to something I said earlier, I mean, if you're doing digital leads and you're doing traditional paid digital, using a direct mail list as part of your targeting would help to get the qualified, because that direct mail list is usually qualified. But then secondarily, you can, by lead nurturing them, by an email lead nurturing campaign, I can find out more information about you to make sure you're even more qualified. Right. So what pages are you going to, and things like that through the CRM can tell me that information as well. But there's also like new tools out there that both of us have played around with that basically kind of scrape email addresses as well, and allow us to even a prospect that hasn't filled out a form yet, I might be able to get their email address and their name and information through basically back. So all that. So if I have those individuals that have not necessarily engaged with us yet, again, a good lead nurturing campaign for them might help us to understand who they are and see what their interest is as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you just a little plug for that. There's a company that I'm actually doing some work with that I turned Sean and Sage on to, and if you're interested, reach out to me. It's crazy cost effective. I kind of think everybody should be doing it.
It's fun.
So so I would love to have a conversation with you about that as well. Anything else?
I think some other opportunities for communities to look into basically how a website's performing or a landing page performing is also through, say, heat mapping or behavioral. So this is the idea of there's tools out there that you can put on a website to understand how that prospect goes through that website. So you have Google Analytics, for instance, that tells us what pages they went to, time on page, things like that. But there's a whole behavioral piece of the equation that I think senior living communities miss out on, which shows you heat mapping. So how far down a page does somebody go? Where do they hover over from a mouse standpoint? And potentially what did they click on that page? And what that's going to end up telling us is basically what call to actions are good, what is interesting to them on that page from a behavioral standpoint, what headline are they? And so they basically clicking on to find out more information, because it helps you then drive additional conversations and what additional content you need to do, or it tells you if your website's bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do I need to redesign this page to make it better for mobile or for desktop or for tablet and things like that? And so that's something that doesn't come up that often. It only usually comes up when people want to redesign a website, which is great. But I think there's ways to take those tools, and use them on an ongoing thing, and just to continue to make that continuous improvement to your website, kind of that Kaizen approach to basically continuous improvement to the website in all your marketing.
Okay, and I think that's, in my mind, it's one of the reasons why using an agency is so important, because you guys are experts in that, and so you're paying attention to that stuff all the time.
And we have those tools.
And you have the tools,
yeah.
right? So I mean, even we use Sage Age for our website because we just could we figure it out and hire people? Yeah, we could, but it just wouldn't be as good.
Right.
And making sure we having maximum impact for the audience is just crazy important. Yeah. Anything else?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier, the advent of using SMS text messaging. I think there's really good opportunities there for the sales team to do follow-ups on text. So we talked about doing text messaging from the standpoint of lead nurturing.
Yep.
But I still feel there's opportunity for a sales team to use text messaging for those communication channels as well, to invite people to the community and things like that as a one-to-one relationship as well. That we don't see that often.
So what about using, we know that there are companies, two companies specifically, that are very targeted in senior living to do video messages to prospects, right? But you can also just pick up your cell phone and do that. Do you find that people, and I've seen, not in our industry, but some people think it's really good and some people think it's like really creepy and intrusive. Do you have any data or any thoughts, just even anecdotally, about what works and what doesn't?
So I think video is key. I mean, video for everybody in senior living is key, and it's going to be more and more important. We talk about video on the communities that we visit recently and things like that. And the trick is getting the video to be taken. So, and also to get the approval for those of the video that you just took. So if I take a video of somebody in the community, I need to make sure that I have the approval of that person to post it first and foremost. But I think a community still has to work to get that video and get the video content, because what we see on our side is if we post video content on a website or social media, that goes much, much further out from a viral standpoint than just a blog or a single post. So taking the video and getting that video and getting it to your agency to use is very important.
So what kinds of, let's talk a little bit about what kinds of videos, how long they should be.
They can be very short, probably in the 30 seconds to a minute type of a video. And what's nice about using an agency is you could just send us the raw video and we can cut it up for you real quick as part of a social plan and basically use that as different snippets. But I think for what the topic should be is the day in the life at a community. So who is that prospect that maybe is having a birthday today? Or the traditional one is, hey, we're holding an event and these are all the people coming in for an event. Or even just some fun things that happen at dinner. I mean, you could easily quickly take a dinner time video of just a pan and scan, and then we could use that as showcasing the dinner environment at a senior living community as well. All those type of things can basically help to be used to push the lifestyle of the community and get it out further.
Yeah, and of course, we're big video users. I've got a fairly extensive setup we're using here for this, but when we're done, I'm going to swap out my good camera I use for live stream, and I'm going to put a different holder up there, and I'm going to put my cell phone, and I've got a little lapel light, and I'm going to go wander around and do some interviews with people, and some of it will be good and we'll use it, and some of it won't, and it's sort of just the courage of getting out there to do it, right? So
absolutely, you just have to do it.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I think that we've had a good conversation here, Sean, and I know that you're probably anxious to get back, and I'm anxious to get back, and so I appreciate you taking some time here and talking with us today, and so we are going to do that, and with that, we will sign out, and I guess I will see most of you on Friday for Foresight TV.